Karen Hill, and I'm going to help you determine a covalent compound's name from its formula. Well, hopefully you looked at some of my previous videos, and you saw the one that helped you determine if the compound was ionic or covalent. That's definitely the first step that you would want to do before you get here. All covalent compounds start with a nonmetal. So I'm just going to look at my first element, and that's phosphorus. Phosphorus is a nonmetal, so that one is a covalent compound. As a result, we're going to use this method. All right, let's get started. First, separate the first nonmetal and its subscript from the second. Okay, so I just separated them. Each element and its subscript will be one word. The covalent compounds that we're going to deal with are just going to have two elements. Okay, so we're only going to have two words. Step number 2, write the name that corresponds to each element. Okay, so this is phosphorus. And the second name will be the root with an IDE ending. Okay, so the root for oxygen is ox. And I'm going to add the IDE ending. All right. Now, step 3. Choose prefixes from the subscripts. Okay. So we're just going to look at these subscripts, and I've got a nice little chart here to help us out. Okay. So choose prefixes from the subscripts. All right. So phosphorus has a 2. So we're going to use the word phosphorus. If the first element has no subscript, do not write a prefix. Okay, it did, so we wrote one. If the second element has no subscript, well, it does. It's a 5. So we're going to use the prefix penta. With oxygen, quite often the A is eliminated. So this first one is diphosphorus pentoxide. Let's try another. All right. So here, separate the first nonmetal and its subscript. Okay, no subscript, so I'm just going to squiggle through. Write the name that corresponds to each element. Well, this is carbon. And Cl is chlorine, but I'm going to give chlorine an IDE ending. If you're in my class, I gave you a sheet on those IDE endings of nonmetals. Okay, step 3. Choose prefixes from the subscripts. If the first element has no subscript, and it doesn't, carbon doesn't, do not write a prefix. Okay, so I'm done there. If the second element has no subscript, well, this one does. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a prefix. When the subscript is 4, the prefix is tetra, just like Tetris. So I'm going to put tetrachloride. Okay, so this one is called carbon tetrachloride. Okay, let's try it. Step number 1, separate the first nonmetal and its subscript. Okay, no subscript, so we just separated the two. Write the name that corresponds to each element. So this is carbon. Sulfur with an IDE ending is going to be sulfide. Okay. Choose prefixes from the subscripts. If the first element has no subscript, and it doesn't, do not write a prefix. If the second element has no subscripts, well, this one does. So this one has a 2, meaning that we're going to need the prefix di. So this is carbon disulfide. All right, let's try a little bit harder. Start at the beginning like we always do. Separate the first nonmetal from the second one. Write the name that corresponds to each element. Once again, we've got carbon. You'll find that we use that one a lot. And the second name will be the root with an IDE ending. Okay, so this is going to be oxide. Okay. Now, if the first element has no subscripts, do not write a prefix. So, no prefix, we're good there. If the second element has no subscript, which it doesn't, write mono as the prefix. So this is carbon monoxide. All right. This last one I put in just to give you a clue as to what you're going to look for. If you'll notice, this one has 3 elements, nitrogen, hydrogen, and fluorine. What I want you to notice is that every time you see nitrogen, you need to check and see if you have ammonia. In this case, you do. So this compound is called ammonium chloride. If you start getting kind of confused as to how to name your covalent compound, it could be that you actually have an ionic compound. Have a great time